Prose Recording 1. Have you ever had to go through a hardship with your family? Have you ever been bullied? Have you ever had a parent addicted to alcohol? Can't imagine just one of those? Try all three. In the story of Maggie, a girl from the streets, Maggie and her brother Jimmy had to deal with all three of these. Their mother was an alcoholic, and they lived in a very, very low income housing while she and her brother were both bullied. A reason to listen is to get a different perspective on life if you have not had any of these happen to you. Personally, I was bullied all through elementary school and middle school, but I have never had to deal with such a hardship in my family. One of these things might relate to you or they might not, so listening and reading this book may give you a different perspective on life if you can't relate it to you or a norm. I like this selection because it did have history, and even though I have been bullied, like I mentioned, I have not had to live through such a hardship or have a parent addicted to alcohol, so it gave me a different perspective on life. The title of this book is Maggie, a Girl from the Streets by Stephen Crane, and I will be cutting a short section from this book. A very little boy stood upon a heap of gravel for the honor of Rum Alley. He was throwing stones and howling urchins from Devil Row, who was circling madly about a heap of pelting him. His infidel countenance was livid with fury. His small body was withering in the delivery of great crimson oaths. "Run, Jimmy, run! They'll get yez!" screamed the retreating Rum Alley child. "Naw," responded Jimmy, with a violent roar. "Dese micks can't make me run." Howls of renewed wrath went from Devil Row's throat. Tattered gammons on the right made the furious assault of the gravel heap. On their small, convulsed face there shone the grins and true assassins. As they charged, they threw stones and cursed in shrill chorus. A little champion of Rum Alley stumbled perceptibly down the other side. His coat had been torn to shreds in a scuffle that he had been through. He had bruises on 20 parts of his body, and blood was dripping from the cuts of his head. His wan features wore a look of tiny, insane demons. On the ground, children of Devil Row closed on their antagonist. He crooked his left arm defensively about his head and fought with cursing fury. The little boys ran to and fro, dodging, hurling stones, and swearing in barbaric trebles. From the window of the apartment house that appeared its from form amid squat, ignorant stables, they leaned a curious woman. Some laborers unloading a scow at the dock of the river paused for a moment to see the fight. The engineer of the passive tugboat hung lazily on the railing watching. Over on the island, a warm yellow convict came from the shadow of the gray, ominous buildings and crawled slowly along the riverbank. A stone had smashed to Jimmy's mouth. Blood was bubbling from his chin and down his ragged shirt. Tears came furious on his dark-stained cheeks. His thin legs had begun to tremble and turn weak, causing his small body to reel. His roaring curse of the first part of the fight had changed the chatter and the yells of the whirling mob of Devil's Row children. They were notes of joy like songs. The little boys seemed to leer goatly at the blood upon the other child's face. Down at the venue came boastfully a lad of 16 years old. Through the sneer and the ideal manhood already set upon his lips, his hat was tipped in the air to challenge over his eyes. Between his teeth, a cigar stumped and tilted at the angle of defeats. He walked with a certain swing of the shoulders which appalled the timid. He glanced over at the vacant lot in which the little raving boys of Devil's Row sneezed about and shrieking, a tearful child of Rum Alley. "Geez," he mumbled with intent, "a scrap. Gee." He stood over the cursing circle, swinging his shoulders in a manner which denoted that he held victory in his fists. He approached the back of the one most deeply engaged in the Devil's Row children. What the hell," he said, and snuffed deeply engaged on the back of the head. The little boy fell to the ground and gave a gross and tendimonious howl. He scrambled to his feet the size of his assailant and quickly ran off, shouting alarms. The entire Devil's Row party followed. They came to a stand of a short distance and yelled taunting oaths to the boy with a sneer. Later they paid no attention to them. "What the hell, Jimmy?" asked the small champion. Jimmy wiped the blood features onto his sleeve. "Well, it was this way, Pete. See? I'm gonna get the lick of that Riley kid, and they seize on pinched on me." Some of the Rum Alley children now came forward. The party stood for the moment, exchanging remarks with Devil's Row. A few stones were thrown in long distances, and words of exchange had passed between small warriors.